Your knees hurt from kneeling on cold stone. You are 12 years old and you have just been handed over to the monastery as an oblate, a gift from your family to God, which also means a gift from your family to the church, which also means that your life no longer belongs to you. The abbess is explaining your duties in a voice that sounds kind but carries the weight of absolute authority. You are learning to smile while the cold rises from the stone into your bones. You are learning that obedience is not something you choose. Obedience is something that is done to you until it becomes who you are. Your family is neither wealthy nor powerless. Your father is a minor knight, a man who owns land but not enough to matter much in the feudal hierarchy. Your mother had 7 children. 3 sons survive, 3 daughters. You are the 3rd daughter, which means you are surplus. A girl cannot inherit land. A girl cannot carry forward the family name. A girl is a liability that needs to be placed somewhere safe. The monastery is safe. The monastery guarantees that you will be fed, clothed, and sheltered. The monastery also guarantees that you will never have children. You will never have a husband. You will never have autonomy. At 12 years old, these are not losses you can yet comprehend. You only know that you have been separated from your mother and that you will never see her again. The smell of the monastery is specific and terrible, incense mixing with unwashed bodies and candle wax and stone dust. The cold is a living thing. It seeps from the walls and lives in your fingers and your toes. You are given a cell, a small room barely wide enough for a bed and a small table. And you are told this is your space and that you are lucky to have it. Other girls sleep in the dormitory. You have seen the dormitory. 30 beds in a room where 35 girls sleep. You count yourself fortunate for the isolation even though it feels like a tomb. The work is relentless. You wake before dawn and go to prayer. After prayer comes breakfast, thin soup and hard bread, and then work. Copying manuscripts if you show aptitude with letters, weaving if your hands are more practical, gardening if your back is strong, cleaning if nothing else fits. You work until noon prayer, then work again until evening prayer, then evening meal and final prayers and sleep. You are given 1 day per week where the work is lighter. That day is for personal reflection and spiritual meditation. In practice, it is the day you are most conscious of your isolation. The church teaches that your body is a source of sin. Your body is a thing to be mortified and suppressed. Your body is a prison that contains your soul, and the goal is to train the soul to ignore the body's needs until the body simply stops making demands. This is presented as spiritual growth. What you experience is systematic denial, no warm baths, cold water in winter, minimal food, long periods of kneeling in prayer that leave your knees bloody. The physical suffering is sanctified. It becomes evidence of your devotion. But here is what nobody talks about. The monastery is also a space of relative freedom compared to what awaited you if you had married. A married woman in medieval Europe had no legal identity. Everything she owned belonged to her husband. She could not inherit. She could not make contracts. She could not refuse her husband's sexual demands. She could not leave him. If you had married at 12, as many girls did, you would be pregnant before 15. You would spend the rest of your life bearing children and hoping you did not die in childbirth. Instead, you are in the monastery. You are learning Latin. You are reading. You have intellectual access that almost no medieval woman outside the church possessed. This is the contradiction that the history books do not emphasize. The church that confined women was also the only institution that educated them. The monastery that demanded your obedience was also the only place where a girl could become literate. The cloister that separated you from the world was also the only escape from a life of domestic servitude and constant reproduction. You are not free, but compared to the alternative, you are less trapped. At 15, something shifts. You have learned the rhythms of the monastery. You have learned which rules can be bent without detection. You have learned that the abbess, while harsh, is also managing an institution that has limited resources and too many obligations. You have learned that there is a hierarchy among the women and that positions in this hierarchy matter. You have made a friend, another oblate named Margaret, who arrived when you were 13. You are not supposed to form attachments. The rule of Saint Benedict explicitly forbids exclusive friendships because they threaten the unified obedience of the community. But you and Margaret find moments to talk, whispered conversations in the herb garden, glances across the chapel that communicate an entire conversation without words. This friendship is dangerous. If discovered, you will both be punished. But it is also the thing that keeps you human. The physical reality of your body is becoming impossible to ignore. You are developing in ways the monastery never prepared you for. You bleed. You have reactions to touch that confuse you and shame you. You are taught that these physical changes are signs of the body's corruption and that your job is to deny them and pray through them. But Margaret tells you that every woman in the monastery experiences this, that the abbess knows every woman experiences this, that the church's denial is a performance that everyone participates in together. Margaret is 2 years older, and she has already served as a scribe in the abbey library. She knows more about what happens in the monastery than the official rules admit. The first impossible choice arrives at 17. A bishop visits the monastery. He is powerful and connected, and he notices you because you are beautiful and because you are intelligent. A combination that is dangerous. After Mass, he speaks to the abbess. You are summoned to hear that the bishop has taken an interest in your education. He wants you sent to a convent in his diocese. The move would be prestigious. The bishop's patronage would guarantee you a position of authority. You would become the head of the scriptorium or the teacher of the younger girls. You would have power within the monastic structure. But the bishop's interest is not purely educational. You understand this without it being stated. To move under his patronage would mean being in his presence. It would mean being available in ways that your current abbess would not allow. It would mean being his property in a way that the church rarely acknowledges, but everyone understands. You can refuse. The rule allows for this. You can tell the abbess that you do not wish to leave. The abbess will protect you because maintaining the integrity of her community matters more than the ego of a visiting bishop. But if you refuse, you will never advance. You will never have authority. You will spend the rest of your life copying manuscripts and teaching little girls their letters. You will remain invisible. Or you can accept. You can go to the bishop's diocese. You can become powerful in the church. You can access education and influence that almost no medieval woman ever touches. But you will do so by making yourself available to a man's desires in ways that contradict everything the church teaches about female purity. You tell the abbess you wish to stay. The bishop is not pleased, but he cannot force the issue without creating conflict with your abbess, and your abbess is connected enough that conflict is not worth the cost. He leaves. You remain. Margaret tells you that you have chosen correctly. She tells you that she knows women who went with patronizing bishops and that the power was real, but the cost was terrible. That women in the bishop's favor became the targets of other women's jealousy. That being publicly the property of a powerful man meant being publicly humiliated when his attention shifted to someone younger. You made the right choice, Margaret insists, but you both know that you have also chosen invisibility. At 22, Margaret dies. She contracted a fever in winter, and it progressed to pneumonia and then nothing. The monastery has no physicians. The herbs and prayers did not work because nothing works against the infections that come from the cold and the damp and the malnutrition that is baseline for convent life. She was gone in 2 weeks. You watched her die in the infirmary, and the church taught you that this was God's will, that her suffering was redemptive, that her death was a gift because it meant she died pure and would go directly to heaven. After Margaret dies, the monastery becomes unbearable. You have been here for 10 years. You are the abbess's most trusted scribe. You manage the library, you teach the younger girls. You are respected and you are completely trapped. You have no family to return to. Your parents probably think you are already dead. You have no skills except reading and writing, and those skills exist only within the church's structure. You are 22 years old and you have never had autonomy. You have never made a real choice. Every major decision of your life was made by someone else. The second impossible choice is harder than the first because you cannot refuse it. A convent in France requests you as a guest for 1 year. They want to learn your manuscript illumination technique. The abbess agrees, and you go. For 1 year, you are in a different monastery with different rules and different hierarchies. And during that year, you meet a woman named Catherine who has a secret. Catherine is not actually living in the convent. She is living in the village outside the convent walls, with a man who may or may not be her husband. She enters the convent for certain prayers and leaves for the rest. She does not answer to the abbess. She does not follow the rule. She is living a life of compromise and partial freedom. Catherine tells you that a woman can live outside the convent if she has money. Not much money, but some. Money from needlework or selling herbs or copying manuscripts for merchants, money that she keeps and that no one can claim. And if a woman has even a little money, she can rent a room in a town. She can live without a husband. She can live without a convent. She can live in the spaces between the structures that were designed to contain her. Catherine is offering you a way out, but the cost is everything you have built, your position, your authority, your identity as a woman of the church. You would become a woman of uncertain status, a widow without a husband, a vagrant, a woman without a man to define her. You would be vulnerable to every kind of exploitation. You would have freedom and precarity in equal measure. You return to your monastery. You tell the abbess that you cannot speak of certain private matters, but that you have decided to commit yourself more fully to the convent. You ask for greater responsibility. You ask to oversee the entire scriptorium. The abbess agrees. You spend the next 8 years in this position, acquiring more authority, more respect from powerful clerics who value your work. You acquire a small amount of money through commissions for special manuscripts. You save it secretly. You are building something. At 30, you leave. You tell the abbess that you are ill and that you need to return to your family village to convalesce. The abbess does not believe you, but she also does not want to force you to stay and have you die there and complicate things. She lets you go. You take your saved money and your knowledge of reading and writing, and you leave the church. You settle in a town where nobody knows you. You take in work copying documents for merchants and lawyers. You survive. You are not happy exactly, but you are free in a way that medieval women were almost never free. You have escaped the two structures that defined medieval female existence, marriage and the convent. You have created a third path that the church and feudalism never anticipated. The real history of medieval women is not the history of pure victims or pure agency. It is the history of women navigating two totalizing systems, the feudal hierarchy that owned their bodies and the church that owned their souls. The options were all bad, but some options were less bad than others. The woman who married was trapped in domestic servitude. The woman in the convent was trapped in spiritual servitude. The woman who found a way to live between the two systems, in the margins, was the rarest of all. And this is what the history books do not emphasize. The church created the only institutions where women could be educated, and educated women could eventually find ways to escape the structures that educated them. Next week on this channel, we are exploring another impossible female existence, the wife of a feudal lord. A woman who had legal authority over entire villages, who managed property and servants and armies, who wielded real power, but a power that existed only in the absence of her husband, a power that was constantly under threat, a power that one wrong decision could take away forever. If you want to understand how medieval women found agency in the cracks of systems designed to deny them, subscribe now.